Hello, is this Doug?
Yes, this is Doug.
Welcome everyone to this two-part bizarre-based broadcast special. Tonight I'm sitting down with Doug Hajicek, director-producer of MonsterQuest, Sasquatch Legend Meets Science, and its upcoming sequel Legend Meets Science 2, as well as numerous other projects and investigations within the field of cryptozoology. Anything that you don't want to answer or anything like that?
The only one that's a little touchy is the ancient MonsterQuest. It's fine. I'm not involved with it.
Right.
So I'm just gonna tell you I'm not involved, but yeah. I might be.
Oh, okay.
In the future, so
right.
Just not at this point.
Got it. Yeah, because my dad and I saw that, and we were like, "Wait, is that?"
I thought. Look, it was really weird because I was literally in talks with History Channel, and all of a sudden everything went silent.
Huh.
Stayed silent for 4 months, 5 months.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, here was it last Saturday or
something like that.
I'm watching TV and in my shop, and all of a sudden I see ancient MonsterQuest, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, I was kind of, and then I of course Googled the whole thing and saw that Donnie Wahlberg was doing it, and I was like,
oh right.
Yeah, he's a big key player in cryptozoology.
Yeah.
So, anyhow.
So yeah, my first question was just talking about the technology that you developed, because I read through your profile and you've done a lot, so.
Yeah, I went ahead and I read through the questions and that one's that's a big answer.
Right, I figured.
All this technology. First off, I've never developed any technology. What I've been really good at, though, is combining technologies and maybe applying them on different crypto subjects, but also wildlife research.
Right.
You take things like multispectral lighting. It's not. I've used it for crypto work.
Right.
Had no success, but to me, it's the real key to solving some of these mysteries, like in Loch Ness. Mm-hmm. Because what multi-frequency lighting does is it gets rid of all the particulate in the water. It's basically water-piercing technology. Mm-hmm. In fact, I was working on the new In Search of series, and it pitched that, but it's like, it's too expensive, or it's too this or too that. We don't want to do anything at night. Mm-hmm. And that's really when it works the best, is at night. Yeah. And there's just been so many things like that I've done where I've really been actually kind of let down that, more wildlife researchers haven't grabbed a hold of it, tried to repeat it.
Yeah, you'd think, honestly, that they would.
In the case of the giant squid. Mm-hmm. That was a crypto animal at one point. I grew up when it was just kind of a myth, it was in comic books and it was just kind of legendary and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And I really was obsessed with that when I was a kid. And as I had this opportunity to do something, and then because of my fishing way up in the Arctic, I was catching these 100-year-old lake trout that were massive size, and I had seen 6-foot lake trout, and I started thinking about, God, they must get out of their niche. They must this, much that. And I got back after seeing there was a lake trout. I was up on the Windy River up in the Arctic. It looked all of 6 feet long, and it came out chasing a 30-pound trout that I was reeling in.
Jeez.
Which was about a 100-year-old trout, and I thought, God, this thing must be 300-400 years old. It's living in this clear, cold, sterile water that you can just drink. You just put a cup in the water and drink it. It's just delicious. And I came back and I started asking different biologists, and ran into a guy named Dick Sternberg, and he said, I have this theory too that they're just not breeding, and they're growing to gigantic proportions.
Right.
And I thought, giant squid.
Right.
And just literally out of the blue, it's like, I don't even think it was a month later.
Yeah.
I got called on a Discovery Channel show to go down and film an exploratory piece down in the Sea of Cortez. And I literally snuck equipment on board this boat.
Really?
Snuck it down there. And I brought a 1,000-foot cable. And I had made this big, long, squid-looking thing. I made it out of mylar.
Right.
So it was really lightweight. And when the time was right on this ship, we were in this spot that I felt good. I threw it overboard without telling anybody. And I got it down to probably about 600 feet deep. And of course, I'm watching the footage.
Right.
Under a little tarp I brought. And all of a sudden, I felt a tug on the cable I was holding. And I had slack on it, but I had wrapped it around the gunwale. The gunwale on the boat. Anyhow, It wasn't even 4 seconds later, the 600-pound cable was literally jerked right in half.
Wow.
This was a Kevlar cable. And I went, oh my God, something, took it, and I thought, I've got the footage recorded, because I hadn't been under the tarp at that point.
Right.
So I looked at the footage, and there's these huge tentacles that came up and had grabbed my camera. So I thought, oh, okay.
Right.
Someday, if I ever get a show, my own show, because they had no interest in that.
Right.
They were actually just going after little surface squid.
Right. Now, was that the MonsterQuest episode with the Humboldt squids?
Yes.
That was okay.
Where we actually ended up getting the first footage of a giant, squid, but we don't know what species it was. Right. It may even be a new species.
Right, and
which is what's really interesting.
Yeah, and you guys did the trying to measure the length from the beak to its eyeball, because its eyeball was reflecting in that footage.
Right. Yep.
And I forget
what was there was just enough detail in there where we added. We had the analytics done by Peter Schmitz.
Right.
And he was very confident in saying that if it's a Architeuthis, it's 108 feet long. And if it's a Humboldt, it's 60 or 54 feet long.
Right, and either way, it's
big.
Yeah,
it's still the biggest squid ever filmed in its own environment. They've reeled up dead ones, and so on, and taken still photos, but that's not in its, wild environment. And I thought, oh, okay, we did this, we succeeded. No doubt the Smithsonian's going to want to do more of this, because they had spent literally millions for 30 years trying to get footage of a giant squid. I go out there, with a small crew one day in a boat, probably spent under $30,000, and for all the stuff that we did, day one, damn near.
Yeah.
We had good weather. We had success.
I know, that's crazy.
And so I thought, oh, this is going to get repeated, and eventually we're going to get high-def footage of maybe a 200-foot squid.
Right.
Who knows? Nobody knows, because when they die, they just sink to the bottom.
Right, yeah.
So
they get eaten.
It's very interesting that science is so slow to change.
Yeah. I was going to say, you'd think everyone would be...
jump on board.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, let's talk about the Patterson-Gimlin footage. They're using a spring line camera.
Right.
Horses. And to this day, no one has gotten footage that good.
Right, absolutely.
And you kind of wonder, well, why aren't we on horseback all the time looking for these things? Sneaking up on horses makes total sense. The smell, the hoof. I mean, it probably sounded like an elk coming around the corner. The horse's scent would cover up the human scent. And, of course, then they got lucky and busted it where it was standing next to a noisy river behind a big log jam. It all made sense.
Yeah, and the Bigfoot episode of MonsterQuest, that was the first time that it had been shown on TV in full. Is that correct?
Yeah. we ended up getting a better copy, and it was actually Legend Meets Science I did that.
Oh, right.
And there's so much more. I mean, just speaking of that film too, there's so much more that film has to tell us.
Yeah.
And it seems like it just stops. Bill Munns has been doing some amazing work.
Right.
But you know, there's a lot more to do. I mean, it's a cancellation method that I actually introduced Bill Munns to in order to enhance images. And
right.
He ran with it, and he used it on one frame, and I've seen the frame.
Right.
And it's amazing.
Is that public, or is that?
Not really.
Yeah.
We're kind of hoping, because it's expensive to do.
Oh, so are you still working on that?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So if we do Legend Meets Science too, that would be one of the things, every frame of the Patterson footage.
Wow.
And so you know, in talking about technology and all these things, God, I mean, the list and the stories I have behind each one is absolutely amazing. But to me, I get surprised all the time of what hasn't been done. Like, one day I was up in Ely on the Canadian border, saw Beaver Lodge, and it really hit me. What's going on in there? So, okay, I get home, and I'm thinking, I can find all sorts of footage of wild beaver lodges.
Right.
What's going on inside, you know, over a winter or whatever? Nothing.
Really?
And so I talked to a biologist up there, and I said, you know, hey, let's put a camera in here. Your cabins are right up the hill. We've got power. Let's put a camera. Okay, well, I thought that would be real easy. And after almost 2 years of trying to chisel through this beaver lodge,
right,
to get a camera that I had developed with basically a slide tube, an inner and outer tube with infrared.
Right.
You know, it was kind of complex because the beavers could easily destroy the camera. We didn't want that to happen. And you don't want to disturb the beavers. You don't want to sit there and pound on it for day after day after day. And so that was kind of important to us. But after 2 years, we broke through.
Wow.
And slid the camera in. This is a great story because I was so surprised at what we saw. So we slid the camera in. We string up probably 1,000 foot of coaxial cable up to this cabin. We get set. We turn on the monitors. And right away, I looked at Dr. Lynn Rogers and I said, man, these beavers look really small. And then I looked, I said, those aren't beavers, are they, Lynn? He goes, I don't know, let's look. And we're looking, it's like, no, those aren't muskrats. And we thought, well, what the heck? Okay, this doesn't make any sense. And all of a sudden, a beaver came in. And the muskrats started grooming the beaver.
Really?
And then another muskrat started grooming the other beaver. The female came in. And within minutes, we are watching a behavior that no one has ever seen in the history of man.
Wow.
And we're thinking, okay, we know this beaver's pregnant. What's going to happen? What drama is going to happen when the beaver has her little kids? And are the muskrats going to babysit the beavers?
Right.
You know, and the Indians had legends about, the natives had legends about the muskrats and beavers and their relationship.
Really?
And
wow,
it was really eye-opening. So we recorded, you know, a full season, and right before this pregnant beaver was going to give birth, a wolf decided to chew my cable and sever this complex cable.
Right.
And we lost signal and literally tried to repair it and couldn't.
Oh, man.
And just everything kind of fell through, and that was the end of that. So mystery still remains, or nature still keeps its secrets.
Right.
Okay, so I didn't invent any of that, but...
Right.
But in a way, and I did the same in a bear den. What goes on? You know, what happens if you put a camera on a deer and could release it for 2 months? What would it see? what strange things would it see? Would it see it? Could it see a Bigfoot?
Right. Yeah.
Could it film a Bigfoot? And actually, I think that's maybe the best way to get footage of an unknown creature is by doing something completely new, out of the box.
Oh, totally.
Something that's never been tried.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
But yeah, I mean, the list of things that I've done, and I think about them, they're all disappointing to me. Because
why is that?
I've never had any great results. I developed a forward and backwards looking high-speed camera, and literally had a chance recently to sweep the entire loch with a huge array of these things.
Oh, really?
Not just sonar, and also sonar, but these high-speed multi-spectral cameras.
Right.
And it got canceled at the last minute. You know, and so this technology is all good, and I guarantee it will be used and will be utilized for cryptozoology at some point.
Right.
But it's just really not yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, how many years did they have sonar before they actually swept the loch with sonar?
Oh yeah.
It was maybe 50 years.
Yeah.
You know. So science is slow to change, and cryptozoologists are also slow to change.
Yeah.
And then when they get stuck on something that doesn't work, they keep doing it too.
Right, yeah.
You know, and I've been guilty of that also. Mm-hmm. You know, standard camera traps have obviously not worked. Yeah. We've been using those for, 20 years at least. Mm-hmm. And nobody's really gotten... I can't think of one really good picture.
Yeah, no, me either.
That I've seen that's wowed me, into thinking, the Jacobs photos interesting with the stretched out legs, but in my opinion, I think it's just some bears with mange. I
absolutely agree with that, and I've actually found pictures that you can overlap onto those of bears with mange, and it matches up pretty seamlessly.
Yeah, and bears can do some pretty, interesting stretches.
Yeah.
Things with their body, they're very, very flexible.
Right.
And there was some camera smear on there, and, but it was intriguing.
Right.
But I don't think it's an authentic, personally. I could be wrong, but I don't think it is.
No, I agree. So yeah, you mentioned Legend Meets Science, and you're working on a sequel for that. Is there anything at all that you can talk about with that?
Yeah, well, first off, Nate, I've been working on that ever since I did number 1.
Right.
I mean, this is kind of an ongoing thing, but we are actively trying to get the thing funded at this point. Mm-hmm. Got some nibbles.
Right.
Don't really want to do it wrong. I want to do this show in a way where it really raises the bar again.
Right. No, totally understandable.
Watch it, and scientists can watch it and go, wow, okay. Because I really do feel that the first one had a pretty big impact.
Oh, it definitely did on me when I saw it.
Yeah. And it's amazing. It still holds water today.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I thought, well, this thing's going to be outdated in a year. Yeah, it really hasn't been.
No.
But I think Legend Meets Science 2 will completely wipe out Legend Meets Science 1.
Really?
Because the things we want to do and are going to do in the 20 new categories and new pieces of evidence, I really think are going to blow people away.
That's incredible.
And although I want to share everything in it, I also don't, because then I won't be able to produce it, because it'll get picked away by all sorts of other shows.
What is the estimated release date, do you think?
Well, I'm really hoping by next year, by 2021 by the latest. I really do. And it's going to be a 2-hour show.
Oh, wow.
And so we're going to be able to go a little deeper on things. I mean, we're going to cover and really, present some hard proof in all areas. Do you think about things like fingerprints? Well, we've taken that to a whole new level.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Film, taking that to a whole new level. Doing things with electron microscopes.
Right.
To absolutely prove morphology of evidence. That goes, people cannot fake molecular
right, yeah, absolutely.
evidence. It's not happening. And I really think it's going to make, it's not going to make people believe, but it's going to make scientists raise their eyebrows.
Right.
It's going to raise the bar up a little bit.
Yeah, enough to
and
draw
go,
interest to the
maybe
subject.
there is something to this.
Right.
That's interesting. I mean, that's how guys like Jimmy Chilcott got interested. Something caught his attention as a forensic fingerprint, latent fingerprint expert that went, hey, I'm going to look into this. And that's how the bar gets raised, just one scientist at a time.
Mm.
And you never know. You might be that one scientist that a film like Legend Meets Science convinces to get some major funding for a major 5-month expedition that, gets this topic of Bigfoot, accepted.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's important to me. And I really do want it to be my last film, because I want to put just everything into this thing.
Go out with a bang, essentially.
I want to really, I just kind of want to quit and say, okay, that was successful, and I'm done.
Right.
Because it's a lot of pressure. I mean, I haven't made a crypto film in 11 years.
Right.
And for a while there, I was, going from film to film to film to film. And so it's been a real dry period.
Right.
I mean, I have done a lot of consulting, done everything from work with Les Stroud on technology to,
really?
Being a consultant for some of the major networks. But it's still been very dry, and I really want this just to be a ton of work, put everything into it, and hopefully end kind of with with some success.
Right, absolutely. That's definitely respectable.
But no, I'm not planning on dying or anything.
Right. So, let's talk about MonsterQuest a little bit. Or a little bit more, I should say.
Yeah, go ahead, Nate.
What kind of started MonsterQuest? Like, what gave you the idea to want to do a series?
Well, it actually happened before MonsterQuest. I'll try to put this shorten the story up, but
right.
I grew up being very interested in Bigfoot. I remember seeing the Patterson-Gimlin still grab from the footage on some boys' magazine in the library when I was a kid.
Right.
And I knew within 1 second that was a real animal.
Right.
I mean, it was just so obvious to me that, that I see muscles. And so I was interested, but just kept that in the back of my mind that, that's really cool and something's living out there. Well, I grew up and I got interested in wildlife and spent a lot of time in the forest and going to pretty far away places up in the wilderness to in the true wilderness.
Right.
And so I started doing that, and then I went one day, hey, I'm going to do a wildlife show to fund all these travels. I want to do a wildlife show, so I approached somebody I'd been reading in the newspaper since I was a kid, Ron Shera, and pitched him doing a TV show. And that show changed my life because it gave me a chance to do a lot of things and a lot of traveling, where's one of the favorite places to go, and get paid while you're doing it versus trying to fund all this stuff.
Right, yeah. And
so I got interested. It was on one of his shoots for television that I was trying to get footage of one of these giant lake trout, underwater footage of one of these huge 6-foot trout attacking maybe a 30-pound trout.
Right.
So that was my goal on this trip. And so I was up there with a fishing biologist. I was up there with a small film crew, including myself. And we stopped to use the facilities in the woods on a beach on a big sand esker.
Right.
And so we pull up to this sand beach up in the Arctic, and right away I noticed footprints coming out of the water.
Really?
Yeah, literally coming right out of the water, which the water was pretty shallow in that area. It was very much, when you get really far north, it's almost like the Caribbean. A lot of sand, and it's really beautiful. And so here are these deep, beautiful, detailed, big footprints coming out of the sand.
Wow.
Or out of the water, onto the sand, and up into the tundra, up to the pea gravel, and then the moss. And right away, we're all really intrigued, right? And start to think, well, maybe the weather, and God, we're talking to you, they look like they're like fresh.
Right.
Maybe a day old tops.
Wow.
And so we follow them. And we get up, and there's footprints that are even deep in the pea gravel. Mm-hmm. We can't even dent the pea gravel.
Wow.
Literally had a 300-pound guy leap off a boulder.
Right.
He couldn't even dent it.
Jeez.
And we're thinking, holy man, these things are like an inch deep.
Yeah.
And we're trying to calculate the weight, and we're going like 1,000 pounds maybe or more. And so anyhow, we keep following the tracks. We're now in the moss, and there's a little tree line of 7-foot tall stunted spruce trees. They're about 7 foot tall, skinny.
Right.
But they're still trees. I mean, I can't walk over one. And there's a footprint in front and behind one of these trees. And then another one. And I'm like, this thing walked over this tree.
Right.
It just stepped right over it. And literally, I remember Rick going, I think that's far enough.
Wow.
And I'm like, dude, we got to get beyond these trees. I want to see where these tracks go.
Right.
And I'm now doing a story because we're up there on TV, and I thought, well, I'll just do a little packet for NBC TV.
Right.
A little news packet. So I'm filming, and Rick was a journalist, and so he's doing the stand-up, and we're filming, and we get out beyond the little trees, and we can see these footprints going off into the horizon. Mm-hmm. And so we end up doing a little news packet. We take a long 25-mile boat ride quickly because I want to get a float plane up to follow these tracks. There's no understory to block them. So I'm like, we could find whatever's making the tracks if we can. Plane can do 150 miles an hour. Mm. We'll catch up with whatever this thing is in no time.
Right.
So we go back and we pitch the float plane pilot to take us up, and he thinks we're playing a hoax on him.
Oh, really?
And he gets angry. He's not having a bad day for whatever reason. And he tosses this. I mean, he was mad. He let us know get out of the tent right now. Because
really? I'm
not putting up this. It's kind of a normal thing where people will do a pretty elaborate hoax on at these lodges. These fishing lodges or tent camps.
Right. Somebody
always gets victimized with some funny joke. Mm. And so he thought he was going to be the victim of some hoax.
Right, yeah.
And made fun of. And so, but I regret to this day not trying to convince him of, that I was sincere.
Right.
But no, he was red-faced. He was mad.
Wow.
So anyhow, I get back home. I get a hold of Peter Byrne. Send him, I think I sent him video copy of the footage, and I'm just starting to I want answers at this point. I'm obsessed. And eventually I got a hold of Matt Moneymaker.
Oh, yep.
And Matt hit it off, and we were he was willing to talk to me about Bigfoot for 6 hours.
I can imagine, yeah.
Yeah, everybody knows who Matt is.
Yep.
And so, and that's all I wanted to talk about. So, we were like two peas in a pod.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Next thing you know, he's flying up to see me, and we're trying to figure out how, because he's got a bunch of research he wants to do too, and things, and he's educating me at this point. And so we started pitching Legend Meets Science, and it took a while, and finally Discovery said, yeah, we did it. So then after that got done, I did Mysterious Encounters.
Right.
Which was a 13-week series, and that was really cool because that was the one we got to use, be in the field, use a bunch of technology, go to a lot of locations, not be able to stay in one place for a terribly long time, but it was still a very good learning experience. We did have activity at numerous locations.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was. I've got millions of stories to tell about Mysterious Encounters, but I get back. And I want to do a show on Gigantopithecus blackie.
Right.
And so I get all my one sheet together and the movie poster and my agents. I have two agents at this point, and they're trying to pitch this show just called Giganto.
Right.
That's it. That was the title. Goes nowhere. We meet with all the networks. It goes nowhere.
Right.
One day, I'm thinking the real King Kong.
Right.
So I called my agent and I said, I'm going to send you a new poster. So now it's Giganto, the real King Kong. Literally the next, 3-4 days, he sold it to NBC.
Wow.
And NBC at that point had, I believe, a stake in History Channel. I'm not really sure what happened behind the scenes, but ended up doing it for the History Channel network. And it aired, and it was a hit. It got really amazing ratings. Some of the, I believe it was the highest ratings they'd ever seen. And so literally I get a call from my executive producer over there, and he goes, "Can we make more of these?" And I said, "No problem." No problem. And literally we got to where we hit the ground running.
Right.
I mean, literally running. Came up with the name MonsterQuest, and, you know, it got accepted, and the rest is kind of history.
Right, yeah. Wow.
But that's kind of what happened. I mean, it was just, I think they were actually, you know, at that time, they were very pleased by just the way the story moved and the way, you know, the witnesses were all extremely credible.
Right.
I focused on police and forest rangers and your Forest Service workers, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It just had a lot of credibility, and there was a lot of science. Getting the teeth on loan was a big deal.
Right.
They actually loaned us the teeth, and we had them, you know, dated and so on.
Oh, wow.
So that really kind of started MonsterQuest, was Gigano.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
well,
not many people do.
Right. What sort of went into making like an episode of MonsterQuest?
Whoa. Well, in doing any kind of broadcast TV show, first, obviously, the subject has to be selected, agreed upon.
Right.
The first thing I would do is do what I would call a brain dump.
Yeah.
To everybody. You know, my line producer, you know, just, you know, my researchers, just everybody, right down to the camera people. I would do this brain dump, and I would just, you know, have them just take notes and notes and notes. And sometimes those brain dump sessions, you know, lasted all day. And then we would just get to work, and I'd say, you know, I'll do this, you do this, you do this. We would just kind of get to work and basically contacting people.
Right.
That's a lot more goes into the pre-production than people think.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, I would then write an outline immediately after my brain dump, and get an outline to everybody, so they all kind of knew exactly how this story would flow. And then we'd start producing, and then after the show was in the can, I would write a rough script. It wasn't all that rough, but sometimes just a few words would get changed.
Right.
And sometimes things would get rearranged or whatever. But so I would write the rough script, and then my sub-executive producer would polish that, and then that would go to the network, and they would approve it, and then we would we'd start putting together a rough cut, and then the rough cut would get approved. And then we'd do the final cut, and then have to deliver all these different types of masters.
Right.
You know, textless masters, masters with certain types of soundtracks.
Yeah.
You'd have to do all these different remastering. I mean, it gets quite complicated. They're called deliverables.
Right.
So the deliverables would take quite a bit of time. And by then we would all be already working on the next episode. Well, you know, one's getting edited and deliverables are being done.
Right.
And so it just kind of was a non-stop flow.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
And, you know, it was actually we had a very well-oiled machine.
I was going to say, it sounds like a very fluid process.
Yeah, it was. And I had a really good team of people. And it just flowed. I mean, there was 1 year, I think we delivered 26 one-hour shows.
Wow.
And that's, if you try to think about doing 26 documentaries in 1 year.
Right, yeah.
It's a lot to think about. And so I would get up at 8 o'clock in the morning, work all day. You know, I'd eat my lunch, I'd take my breaks, but work all day, take a supper break, maybe take a 2-hour break, and then come back and then work till 5 in the morning.
Wow.
And I did that pretty much 4 years straight.
Right.
Including weekends. So it's, you know, it's plenty of work. But I loved it.
I was going to say, yeah. Sounds like
I was living the dream.
Very passionate.
Doing a show like MonsterQuest, with a decent budget, and certainly really nice people at the History Channel. It was great.
So I guess from that, I just naturally have to ask what your favorite episode was to be a part of.
Oh man, probably my favorite episode.
If you have one.
I mean, looking back now, if I'm like going to hand out a copy of one to somebody, there's ones that I'll weed out. I'm just like, because they weren't really topics that I was that highly interested in.
Oh, really?
But understand why, the network would want them.
Yeah.
But my heart, wasn't really it wasn't my cup of tea.
Right, yeah.
But probably if I had to weed it down, I certainly, like the squid.
Yeah.
There's 2 squid episodes. Certainly love the Snail Grove episodes.
That's easily one of my favorite ones.
I think the Dogman episode's kind of cool. I'm very interested in that topic. Totally confused by it.
Oh yeah.
Because I think everybody is. I'm just so confused. But it's one of those topics that there's just far more witnesses than there is evidence.
Yeah, exactly. And even the people who are sort of researching it, they don't really know. Everyone's theories are essentially just kind of clashing.
Yeah, it's very confusing. Yeah. But yet, I do take a lot of stock when there's when something's being fueled over and over and over. Oh, look, we're not talking about unicorns, are we, Nate? Because there's no fuel.
Right, yeah.
There's nobody seeing. But if people were seeing unicorns, I guarantee we'd be talking about unicorns right now. But they're seeing dogmen over and over and over. They're seeing Bigfoots. I mean, I think there's so many more sightings that we would ever even dream of.
Oh, absolutely.
Because people, it's got to be, it's got to be under 2%.
Yeah.
Of people. I know it's growing a little bit with the internet, and and slowly people
and even with shows
talking.
Like MonsterQuest and Finding Bigfoot, it's kind of making it more acceptable to sort of come forward with those, which is really a really good thing.
Yep, and I think Finding Bigfoot really, definitely topped that off too.
Yeah.
Just getting people to just say, "Oh, what the heck?"
Yeah, absolutely.
Might as well tell my story. But I even find, I literally interview people every week. Witnesses. And I have to pry the information in many cases because I'm really interested in my local area here, and people see things near a suburban gas station. Right. Yeah, there might be a big wooded area, big natural area next to it, but they see something running in front of Bob's Superette. Right. They're not talking. Why did this thing cross in front of? What was this thing that crossed in front of my car? One block from Bob's Superette. You know what I mean? I don't want to tell anybody because they're just going to think I'm nuts. Right. But those kind of witnesses are thick as fleas. There are really a lot of them. Right. I can hardly talk to a police officer if I can get their trust that doesn't have a story of some type. I talked to one here recently that I was out doing some research and I was in a place where I shouldn't have been. Right. I was getting the boot out. Right. But I just said, hey, I was honest with what I was doing. And he was cool with it. And he's just like, you got to leave now. Right. And I said, there's no way. You're on this night shift. You're in this area. Something, you must have seen something. Because you're just being really nice to me. Right. And he goes, yeah, maybe. And then he tells me a story about a stolen car he was investigating that they had found ditched in the woods there. Right. And he went to, check it out. He had a big, huge stick come whirling out of the forest, or basically a log. Really? Whirling out of the forest and landed right by his feet. Wow. And he said, it was like 3 a.m. And he said, at this point, I'll believe anything. So, those are the kind of stories that, they're there, but he's not going to tell anybody. Right, yeah. So where is that area? Okay, I live in the Anoka County area in Minnesota. Oh, yeah. Surrounded by a lot of swamps and forests, and near my home, there's a whole group of lakes that nobody lives on. And they're all, because they're swampy and there's a lot of private property, and pretty much no one's ever goes back there. And there's one area that just literally a hotbed of sightings.
Is it mainly Bigfoot, or is it
Bigfoot sightings? Yeah. And it's kind of impressive to me because it's near the edges.
Right.
Which to me is kind of, it's an area a topic I'm really interested. Here we have agriculture at the edges. We have homes at the edges with gardens. We have a ton of deer that can't be hunted.
Right.
We have no camping. We have no dogs allowed, leash laws.
Right.
And these things are coming right into these suburban edge areas.
Wow.
And I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah.
I don't maybe have to go up, 5,000 miles north to do research all the time, because I can go into the forest around here and find new, complex tree structures.
Right, yeah.
Collect hair samples, do all sorts of really neat stuff, record some amazing audio, all without traveling far.
Right.
And there's no doubt it's happening all over the U.S.
Well, yeah, I've got a camp. I'm in Maine. I don't know if I told you that. And we've got a camp in central Maine. We've heard wood knocks just start at like midnight in the dead of night without us initiating anything.
Right. We've heard, same here.
Yeah, we've heard really large. This is interesting. This happened a few years ago. We've heard large animals moving through the woods, and not even thinking of Bigfoot or anything. We thought it might have been moose or bear or something, because we know those definitely live around there. And we went onto our neighbor's porch because he's the landlord, so he lets us go on and off his property. And we heard this thing there was a creek that runs behind their house, and unfortunately there was brush between us and the creek. But we could clear as day hear footsteps as if someone were stepping, like in and out of really shallow water. It was very clearly bipedal.
Yeah, well, keep it up, because I think that's where the action is. And I love Google Maps, because you can do all sorts of pre-exploring.
Right.
Like last summer, I took a spot where I found a Google Maps. Here's a power line cut through. Mm-hmm. Here's a trail. Here's a creek.
Right, yeah.
Here's an agricultural area. There's going to be stick structures right there.
Right. Well, yeah,
literally within 50 feet of where I picked, in a swamp, in a very wet area, just this massive, complex structure.
We've caught footage behind our camp of the of trees. I think it had to be like 2 or 3 trees that were literally pulled down and like sort of locked in between each other, like a structure. It was really pretty incredible. We were blown away when we first saw it.
Yeah, things like that are they're subtle, but you have to be aware to see it.
Yeah.
There's so much of it that can't be caused by storm damage. Some of it's it's never for sure, but when you find 1,000 sticks woven together in kind of a swampy area, you can't blame it on kids. You can't always go, "Oh, this is Boy Scouts doing." I hear this all the time.
Right.
And then all of a sudden there'll be this big addition on it. Like the next day you saw it the day before.
Right.
Somebody worked on it all night. It was not a hunter, because there's no hunting in this area.
Right.
It wasn't kids, because kids aren't going to stand in ankle deep water.
Yeah. Right.
In a mosquito infested swamp.
Right.
There's so many bugs. It's just practically drive you right out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you know anything about Minnesota, but if Maine is as bad as Minnesota, but Minnesota's the worst.
Oh yeah,
bugs,
no,
wood
it's
ticks
bad.
And mosquitoes and yeah.
Yeah, and our big thing is ticks. At least the past few years it has been.
Yep, it gets thick. I mean, you can come back and just be covered with hundreds of them.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, the little fun diseases they carry isn't all that great either.
Yeah, it's a blast.
But it just, people write these off. Those have a ton to tell us. There's patterns. There's amazing patterns there, and it literally drives me crazy. I've been also talking to in the past an architect who's been working on trying to solve some of the building techniques, because some of them are very complex.
Right.
There's just the amazing fulcrum things that are happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the types of sticks, and the debarking of the sticks.
Yeah. It's definitely deliberate.
And it's extremely deliberate.
Yeah.
Could you imagine the work of debarking 1,000 sticks? And for what reason? What message, or what?
I was gonna say,
what does it mean?
Yeah, where someone is randomly gonna stumble upon it, and no one's even gonna know it was you. Like, what does someone have to even gain from that?
Exactly. Yeah. No, I really don't believe that. I'm sure there's a few that have been made by scouts.
Right.
But they're going to be a lot simpler.
Yeah.
They're not going to be twisted off.
Yeah, because it's time
3-inch, 4-inch sticks that came from a long ways away with the bark removed and woven.
It's time consuming and it's energy consuming.
Oh, it's terrible. But there needs to be a lot done with those. It's one of the topics that, of course, that we're going to cover in Legend Meets Science.
Oh, okay.
But there's definitely a story to tell.
Right.
With these structures. And so to come right back to the suburban, I say suburbia, but I don't really mean suburbia, but the edges
right
of civilization and these things, they really seem to be taking advantage of it, because we're all overrun with wildlife in these edges. I mean, I could drive from here to northern Ontario in my car, and maybe I might see a deer, maybe I'll see a fox, but I can take a bike ride with my electric fat bike and power through the forest in these suburban areas and come back and log 20 different types of wildlife. And, flocks of wild turkeys, grouse, pheasants.
Oh, yeah.
Deer just countless deer. The amount of amphibians, blah, blah. It just, the list goes on.
Yeah.
And so, and then you can walk another block and hit an apple orchard.
Right.
And there's a cornfield with ripe corn in it over here.
Yeah. It
just doesn't take a rocket scientist to wonder why all these animals are hanging out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here. Yeah, so it's an interesting twist, and I really do hope most people who are doing Bigfoot research start looking a little more in their backyard.
Absolutely, yeah. I know I definitely have been.
Well, good for you, and so am I.
Right. So, sort of going back to MonsterQuest.
Yeah.
I know, as well as my father and some of my other friends and colleagues would agree that the Snellgrove Lake episode is definitely one of the most interesting episodes of MonsterQuest.
Yeah, I agree, and I agree only because of the backstory.
Right, absolutely.
And once, I've been accused, which I don't do often, but once in a while, it's like, okay, I want to see what kind of crap people are saying on YouTube or whatever.
Right.
And, they fake this and that. No, I mean, the backstory it was the first TV show I was producing back in the 80s that I went up there. And went up there to fish walleyes. And first I went to do a story on this unique place because it was all, it was in the complete wilderness. You get flown in, you get dropped off, and it's solar powered. And so that was kind of a novel idea back in the 80s. To have this isolated cabin where I could take a comfortable hot shower.
Right.
I could take a longer shower up there than I could at home because they had, unlimited hot water.
Right.
Pumped right out of the lake and into a hot water demand system. All solar powered. It was just amazing.
Really?
And so we would go up there, and the fishing was amazing. The wilderness, you wouldn't even know what century you were at unless you looked at your own watch. I mean, there was just no way to even tell. There's never been logging. It's just as virgin and beautiful forever. It just seems like you're in your own 500 square mile wilderness.
Right.
And so it got to the point where I got to be good friends with the outfitter. Ended up doing a couple of television stories, but then started just going up there over and over and over. Right. I would go up there sometimes 5 times a year, and nothing really happened except they used to go mainly in the early part of the summer, not the late summer. Right. Well, one year I decided to start going in August, and I would guide different people. I really enjoyed taking all these different people up there to share it with them.
Right.
And so I had taken a group of fishermen up there, and these two guys came back, and they said, yeah, it was really weird. We were fishing on this bay over here, and a big log came over the top of the forest and landed right by our boat, twirling in the air.
Wow.
And I just kind of went, that's interesting. What are you going to say?
Right.
We talked about it. You just put it in your gray basket,
Yeah.
And I just, for some reason, the wilderness up there seems so vast.
Right.
And you don't see a lot of wildlife when you're up there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally, I can count on, going up there hundreds of times. One moose.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because it's so vast.
Yeah.
The wildlife isn't stacked on top of each other.
Yeah.
Couple of black bears, but real small ones.
I was gonna say, we've had our camp for about, I think this is our 10th year, and we've never seen moose. We've only ever found tracks of moose. We just recently found black bear tracks for the first time.
Yeah.
And we've only recently, like this past summer, actually saw the black bear that was around our property, and it was honestly one of the most surreal things, because if I hadn't, and it was when we were packing to leave too, because we could see from our front yard down the street, down the dirt road into the woods. If I hadn't just happened to turn around and look behind me, I would have missed it, because the black bear was sticking its head out down the road looking right at me, and then it just went off. And if I hadn't turned around, it would have crossed the road without me seeing it. So
yeah, I mean, I compare like Snow Grove to my home.
Right.
I can see more wildlife here in 10 minutes than I can see in 20 years up there.
Yeah.
Which is weird, because you would think, it'd just be jam-packed. And yes, I know there's cougars up there.
Right.
I know there's black bears. I know there's a lot of moose. There's caribou. Mm-hmm. Literally right at the Snow Grove cabin. Really? Wow. Caribou. So there's reindeer right there. Mm-hmm. I've never seen one. Huh. But they're thick up there. But they're just, they have so much space. They don't need to hang around where there's people making noise. So I go up there all these years, and finally one year, I decide to bring my daughter, because I kept bringing my sons. I felt bad. Right. So I bring my daughter, Dakota, and Joy said, I want you to bring your daughter. Let's bring our girls up and share this. And they're not really into fishing and this, but maybe it'll change them a little bit. And so we bring our daughters up there, and my daughter thinks making monkey sounds helps her catch walleyes. Uh-huh. And I asked her, why are you doing that? I kept asking her. She's all, I catch walleye. See, Dad, it works. And she'd reel in a walleye. Right. So we were in this lake, I call Hidden Lake. Mm. You have to pole in there because it's really shallow. It's kind of a little stream that's real rocky and shallow. Right. And it's really a creepy lake. Every time I've gone back there, I've always felt watched. I don't know what it is, but I would never go back there alone. Huh. It's kind of in a canyon, and it's surrounded by a lot of granite. Right. And it's just, I don't know what it is. You just feel like you're being watched. It's really eerie back there. But the fishing's amazing. So we went back there, we're coming out, and my daughter is catching fish, walleyes, in this little stream. Mm. And we're about 30 feet from the main lake. And she's making her monkey sounds, driving Dad nuts, but I'm letting her do it. And all of a sudden, there's a big pound on a tree right next to the boat. Oh, wow. I mean, it shook. It was so loud that whatever it was right there. Right. Literally, feet away. Everybody cut their motors, trying to figure this out. And I'm thinking, I've never tried wood knocking here, ever. I've never done any Bigfoot. Never really, I'm up here to relax. I'm not up here to think about scaring myself. The doors don't have locks, okay? Right. So I've slept out on the dock numerous nights where the cabin is too hot. Mm. I'll bring my sleeping bag and a mattress out, or a futon mattress, and sleep out under the stars. And I've even done that alone up there. Well, because you have to take a boat to get there, or a plane? No, you take a float plane. Right, a float plane. And you get dropped off. And there's, 3 boats. Only 6 people can go there at a time. It's quite expensive to go. I don't know what the prices are nowadays, but back then it was between, $600 and $800 per 3 days per person. Man. So it's, it's not real terribly cheap, and then you have to get there. Right. And, it takes a lot of fuel. I mean, it costs the floatplane pilot probably almost $1,000 in fuel to fly there from his base in Emo, Ontario is his base. And so she makes these monkey sounds. We get this tree knock. And, of course, I get the bright idea. I'm up there with this big Russian guy, with my best friend Joe, and all of our daughters. And the two youngest ones go to bed early. And the oldest daughter stays out, Joe's daughter, Maria. And we're there, and it's like 2 in the morning. Vladimir, let her have it. Let her rip.
Right.
And so he does this big tree knock on this perfect tree knocking tree, and it echoes across the lake. Wow. It's silent now. We're listening. We heard the lake echo. Okay, yeah, we heard that. And then, bam, right by us. Again, it was just as close as it was coming out of that stream.
Wow.
And we literally, I think we all probably turned white, and certainly the two skeptics that were with me really turned white.
Wow.
And so I said to Maria, I need you to grab a little stone by the campfire and just toss it in the direction, underhand, make sure it's underhand.
Yep.
And just toss it in there. So she tosses the rock in there, and here comes another rock, lands right at our feet.
Thank you everyone for listening to part 1 of this 2-part special of the Bizarre Base broadcast. Subscribe and click the bell to be notified when part 2 premieres next week, and join the Association of Cryptozoological Fieldwork and Analysis on Facebook to keep updated on Bizarre Base and everything cryptozoology.